called the labor intensity blues.
I guess from when he could talk, he started asking questions relative to social issues. He has always been a strong social activist. When he was in high school, he was very active, for instance, in the Calgary Peace Coalition, the Canadian Disarmament Group, and was active across the country in terms of those kinds of activities. It came largely from his mom. I think it came from both of us, but mostly from his mother. I know some of Jim's compatriots who studied economics with him at the University of Calgary, for instance. They're in the oil patch, doing very well, you know, making annual incomes of 7 figures and more. And that could be Jim, but it isn't. You know, Jim is in the labor movement, and they don't have stock options, and they don't have those kinds of things. And he knew that. That was a conscious decision he made. He said, you know, this is important to me, and this is the direction I'm going to go.
I think that Jim Stanford sees the CAW as an avenue to enhance the conditions of working men and women in Canada, and as a result of our commitment to social unionism, he sees a connection between what we do at the bargaining table and what we're able to do politically and socially with all levels of government. So I see that he sees tangible evidence that the union makes progress for the causes that are important to Jim Stanford. And I think that's why he stays at the CAW. I'm sure Jim Stanford's had many opportunities because of his ability, because of his communication, because of his incredible intellect. But the facts of the matter is he actually sees things getting done in the CAW. He sees progress being made, and I think that by itself inspires him.
The Toronto Disaster Relief Committee is an advocacy group around homelessness. Jim translates big economic ideas into ones that we can work with on homelessness, on poverty, on unemployment. So that's really important. He attends and supports our demonstrations, our rallies, our press conferences. He himself takes part in an active role in some of the inquiries we hold into things like hunger. He helps to craft the final report sometimes and recommendations. He gives us incredible strategic guidance. Policymakers and politicians, no matter how well-intentioned, are far removed from reality. The nature of their work means that they're not often with the people and understanding experiences, the real life and death issues of people suffering hunger, homelessness, people in shelters. He makes the bridge happen between the two, and it benefits all.
In 2008, the auto industry was clearly in crisis. I met Jim Stanford when I was Associate Deputy at Industry Canada, and we were working together on the restructuring of GM and Chrysler. So Jim was at the table right from the beginning. He played a very important role, I think, both in explaining the implications of the kinds of things that we were considering to us, his practical knowledge of the industry, but also explaining to his colleagues in the CAW what was going to be necessary to make this work. Jim was looking for a solution that would be positive both for the companies and for the workers. You know, it's not going to be a durable solution if one side does well and the other side does not. Both the company and the workers had to make really significant sacrifices to make this work. And Jim was able to find the balance that worked for both sides in order to come up with a durable deal. We were very lucky that Jim Stanford was helping in these negotiations on the Canadian side, not just for the Canadian auto workers, but for the whole industry in Canada. We all owe him a debt of thanks because of that.
Jim is a wonderful communicator. He speaks in simple language, he leaves jargon at the door, and I think one of the reasons is he's speaking to, often, his constituents, folks that work at auto companies, they don't want to hear a bunch of jargon. They need to hear from him simple truths, simple ideas, and that's actually what makes him great at communicating messages elsewhere, because that's what most of us want. We just want to hear something that's easy to understand and isn't riddled with all kinds of terminology that we don't understand. There's no question that when we're on panels, Jim is the odd man out. He is alone on his end of the spectrum. But the truth is, he stands his ground better than anybody you're ever going to meet. He will often stick so solidly to his point that he ends up kind of winning the day just by being true and consistent. And he's just great at it. But something else he brings that isn't always there is he's always a gentleman. He's an amazing, he's polite, he's thoughtful, he's articulate. He never crosses the line, even at his most vociferous, into territory that's rude or unmannerly.
Some people may be surprised to see me participating in a tribute to Jim Stanford. After all, Jim has not exactly been quiet about taking shots at this government and its policies. He even, on occasion, takes a mild shot at me. But that's the nature of this business. We both believe we can build cars in Canada and in Whitby, Oshawa for a long time to come, and that's something we're both working for.
Intellect, credibility, integrity. That's Jim Stanford.
Jim Stanford is the smartest socialist on TV.
Jim is consistent, he's persistent, and he's a gentleman.
Oh, yeah, yeah.